Hey guys, how's it going? So I wanted to make this video about the most worthless thing in Epic 7. And no, it's not RTA rewards, it's effect resistance. And so I have this character highlighted here because I think they're kind of a symptom of the problem, and let me get into that in a bit. But essentially effect resistance from the beginning, just as a stat when you compare it to everything else, is a lot more useless. So you need at least 100 effect resistance over the opponent's effectiveness to make it so that you don't get debuffed. That means even if you only have 50% over, you can still get debuffed half the time, and 15% doesn't really make up for that, to be honest. It's not really all that great. So that means you're essentially wasting extra stats, and sometimes you just get debuffed anyways. Not to mention there's also skills like this that have ignore effect resistance on them, so that means when somebody soul burns that, so one artifact, or they just stack up enough souls, that means all of your stats were completely useless. An example of this is I have my Ocean Breeze Lilias here, and with this artifact she gets to, around 254 effect resistance. Well, she still sometimes just gets debuffed by ML Lilias. And when she gets provoked by ML Lilias, I kind of just lose the game. Like, it's usually just over right then and there, honestly. So that means I built all of these stats for nothing. That means I have 254 resistance, 254% stats that are completely worthless. Can you imagine 250% increased health and defense or speed? Well, it's half the amount, so 250 of a stat would actually be 125 speed worth. So, I mean, if that was even possible, I'd be over 300 speed. But just theoretically, think about how many stats you're losing. How powerful effectiveness is compared to effect resistance. It's just doesn't make any sense, really, right? And then you have a character like Mediator Queric. Excuse my bad build here. This character doesn't actually require any effect resistance at all. Now, you can build it on him so he doesn't get reset, etc. But the thing is, the reason why he's so insanely good is you don't have to build a useless stat, so you get to put all of those stats into the defenses, into the speed. Hell, people go damage, people go effectiveness. He has so much flexibility because you don't have to build this useless stat and he still gets to cleanse. And this brings me to the next thing, is debuffs are way too powerful. Debuffs are unbelievably strong right now in Epic 7. Who are the best cleansers in Epic 7? Well, I would say it's Mediator Queric, Ocean Breeze Lilias, and probably Destina. I think those are pretty much all the best cleansers, and people don't really generally use all that many others. Now, you might use a few for really specific things, but here's the problems. Mediator Queric, he's probably the best one, but he's not good versus a lot of these really aggressive teams, so he can be risky to pick. Destina is good against a lot of these aggressive teams because she has the ability to revive and full heal the team, but the problem with her is she can just get debuffed. And people actually started building her on lower FRES because they realized, well, I'm just getting debuffed every single time anyways. My opponent's picking something like, let's say, Power Captain Flan and just stunning me even though I have 300 resistance. So what's even the point of building the stats? So they started making her bulkier. So she's good versus aggro, but she can get debuffed easier. And then the third character, Ocean Breeze Lilias, she's great versus aggressive teams, but she cleanses once and it's only 2 debuffs, and then that's it. And she's also weak to one of the strongest debuffers, which is Solitaria. So what I'm saying is effect resistance is such a flawed, horrible stat that it makes all these other cleansers also kind of just bad at the same time. And there are some cleansers such as the newer ML Lilias that is able to turn all the debuffs into buffs, but it has a long cooldown, she can only do it once, and also, what if somebody just soul burns a reset on her? Like, sure, she has the push-up and all that great cleanse stuff, what if somebody just soul burns this reset? What if somebody soul burns the reset on Lua or something? I've been using Eligos a bunch recently. Sometimes I just soul burn ignore FRES on his skill 3, so it just doesn't even matter. Essentially what I'm saying is, just at the base level, effect resistance is a completely flawed stat. It's completely weak. It makes no sense at all. And in the current state of the game, it's just such a worthless stat. Most of the time you build this resistance, it doesn't really do that much. If an ML Lilias, which I fight a lot of, has something such as Circus Fantasia, which gives a bunch of free effectiveness, then essentially the Conquer Lilias can be tankier, faster, and provide way more to the team while just running an artifact to give extra effectiveness, and be able to stop my cleanser. And then that makes them completely useless and I just get run over. So you have these characters that just have to put such less investment, and they get so much more out of it. which is the whole dilemma right now in the game. And this is why when Nahkwol was first shown off, I was like, what is Smilegate doing? The game is currently played so hard by debuffs. Debuffs are so powerful. These insanely powerful openers such as Peira, ML Lilias, Lua, like these crazy characters. Why would you want to add to the problem and make more characters like Nahkwol? Now, I will say, they did help out with characters such as Moon Bunny, as an example, which can be really used against some of these really powerful openers, so kudos to them. That was a great idea, but that still doesn't really fix the issue of debuffs being so wildly powerful compared to effect resistance. And I really think that there needs to be some sort of effect resistance revamp, or at least maybe Soul Weavers just get a bonus. There's a few ways they could go about it. They could do something like maybe they make it so effect resistance scales better. So maybe for every single point of effect resistance, you're getting a little bit more. What I mean by that is, so let's say you have a character like Luca with this ring. Maybe this ring, all effect resistance stats would be higher, so maybe this would give 75 res. Maybe effect resistance on these pieces of gear could go up to like 11 or 12, just so that it's easier to build this effect resistance on characters, so it's not as much of a just completely wasted stat. That's one way that they could totally go about it. Or maybe they just do something like a frenzy in the game where Soul Weavers get extra F-res. Essentially, almost every cleanser other than someone like Meteor Quirk or Designer Lobet is pretty much a Soul Weaver. And Soul Weavers are really just not looking too hot, except with a few exceptions, and they just get overwhelmed too hard by debuffs. So I really think that Smilegate should really look into actually fixing this issue, because it wasn't as much of a problem in the past, like years ago, because yeah, debuffs were stronger, like effectiveness is stronger than F-res, but there weren't as many characters that hard abused this. There weren't as many characters that could just soul burn to ignore your effect resistance. There weren't as many characters that did crazy powerful abilities like stripping your whole team and resetting them, things like that. There was a lot less of that, so it wasn't as big of an issue. But now in the current state of the game, I think it's gotten really out of control. And I think unless they start making characters that can actually deal with this, it's only going to get worse and worse and worse. And look, we see Nahkwol, right? And then they might come out with another cleanser, but is that cleanser going to be able to deal with the resets? Are they going to be able to deal with the soul burns? Like, how do you make characters that actually deal with this stuff unless they're on the level of Meteor Quirk, or they're able to self-reset themselves, or they're able to just cleanse automatically as part of passives like Moon Bunny? You need something else added to the game to really fix this issue. So anyways, this is something that I just wanted to really talk about, because the stat is literally useless. In 90% of the games, effect res is completely useless. I just pick characters that have so much effectiveness that it just ignores their F-res. Like, I just picked something like Solitaria. Sure, she has 186 effectiveness, so you could resist it. But that means, what? You need 286 resistance to resist her debuffs? That's insane. Think about how many stats you're taking out of speed and defensive stats, so you can just easily get one shot, or you're too slow to actually do anything. And then you just get debuffed if you actually decide to invest in those stats. It's kind of ridiculous. And I really think something needs to be done. So anyways, thanks a bunch for watching this video. I just wanted to talk about this because this is something I think a lot of people have really been thinking about and talking about, and just like everyone makes fun of the F-res stat because it's so useless so much of the time. And so if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like or subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you next time.